Hi, it's Katrina. From the coffee debate to the most popular sports, here are 10 maps that will change the way you see the world. Number 10. Heavy metal bands. While musical tastes vary wildly around the world, one thing's for sure, heavy metal rocks. But where do you think the highest number of heavy metal bands come from when you take a country's population into account? The answer might just surprise you. This map shows where the darker a color is, the more bands have been formed there. It turns out that Scandinavia is the world's metal band hotspot, with 3 of its countries making the top 5. Way out in the front is Finland with 53.2 bands per 100,000 people. Second is Sweden with 37.14. Third is Liechtenstein with 27.2. Fourth is Norway with 26.99. And fifth is Iceland with 22.6. But where are the places that are devoid of such musical wonders, I hear you ask? Who has the least amount of bands? Well, if you're a fan, you won't find much coming from Qatar, Oman, Mozambique, or Kenya. Number 9. Population circle. With a population of almost 7.5 billion people, the world is seeming like a smaller place than ever before. The spread of people isn't exactly even though, as this map makes quite clear. There are in fact more people living inside the circle than out of it. The main countries the circle includes are China, India, Indonesia, Pakistan, and Japan. But there are also a number of other densely populated places too, of course. Interestingly, this circle also includes Mount Everest, the highest mountain on Earth, the Mariana Trench, the deepest place on Earth, and the least sparsely populated country on the planet, Mongolia. The religious and political spread is also interesting here. There are more Muslims, Hindus, and Buddhists living within the circle than out of it, and the vast majority of the world's communists are here too. Of the world's main religions not found here are Christianity and Judaism, where more live outside of the circle than in it. Pretty interesting stuff, right? And now for number 8. But first, do you know what the most popular sport in the world is? Let us know your guess in the comments below. If you're new here, be sure to subscribe, and if you're a returning subscriber, it's nice to see you again. Number 8. Gun ownership. Gun ownership, while often controversial, is a way of life for people in many countries of the world. This map shows the countries where it is most common, with the darker colors representing those where ownership is the highest. It may come as no surprise that the US sits at the top of these rankings, with 112.6 guns being owned for every 100 people. The second on the list might surprise you, Serbia and then Yemen in third place. This one might be even more shocking. Fourth place goes to Switzerland, the neutral country, where there are 45.7 guns per 100 people. And then in fifth place is Cyprus, an island country in the Mediterranean. On the other end of the scale, the countries with the fewest number of guns are Ethiopia, then Ghana, the Solomon Islands, and Timor-Leste, or East Timor. Can you guess what the country with the least number of guns is in the whole world? Go ahead, guess. It's Tunisia. Possibly the most interesting thing about these statistics is that they have no bearing on the number of gun deaths in a country. Honduras is actually first for death by guns, followed by Venezuela, Swaziland, Guatemala, and Jamaica, 5 countries that aren't in the top 10 of ownership. What do you think about that? Number 7. Instant versus ground coffee. Coffee is one of the world's most popular drinks, but the question is, how do you like it? Instant granules or ground fresh? You might think the answer is obvious, but it turns out your opinion is likely to be affected by where in the world you come from. This map shows preferences, with blue denoting freshly ground coffee and dark green showing the countries that prefer instant coffee. Fresh coffee is still by far the most popular form of the drink, but instant coffee is quickly increasing in sales, mainly due to new coffee drinkers. Plus, it's practical for people on the go. Interestingly, the divide between instant and fresh generally falls in line with where tea is the preferred drink. In these places such as China, Russia, and Turkey, and the UK, instant coffee rules the roost. But in countries where coffee is more popular than tea, such as the US, Canada, France, and Brazil, freshly ground is the overwhelming favorite. Or maybe you just use K-pods and you don't even know where your coffee comes from. Number 6. Flat Earth. It used to be a commonly held belief that the Earth was flat, although not as popular as you might think. But people knew it was round since at least 2,000 years ago, when the Greek philosopher Aristotle wrote proof in his book On the Heavens. It took another 1,500 years for the first circumnavigation of the globe, And while it's now a generally held belief that the Earth is a spherical shape, there are those who still believe it is flat. And no evidence will change their mind, so don't even try. For this theory to hold up, maps need to be drawn differently. And here's a series of maps of the world that have been made to show what it would look like if it were flat. Modern flat Earth maps depict the Arctic as a core of ice at the center, with Antarctica being a ring of ice around the circular disk. All other countries are placed somewhere in between the two. The most unusual looking flat Earth map, though, is known as the Orlando-Ferguson map. It was created in 1983, and while depicting the Earth on a flat plane, actually incorporates a curvature to it as well. It is based on biblical descriptions of the planet and shows our visible world carved onto a square-shaped plane, again surrounded by an impenetrable ice wall. Number 5. Alcohol preference. Alcoholic drinks are pretty popular no matter where you live. At the end of a hard day's work or hanging out with your friends, most people enjoy a drink or two, or 4. But what's your drink of choice? Is it beer, wine, or maybe something a bit stronger? Well, this map charts each country's favorite drink by measuring the amount sold in liters every year. The countries in orange prefer beer, those in pink prefer wine, and those in blue prefer spirits, aka hard liquor. The teal countries prefer a different alcoholic drink, such as fortified wine or cider, and those in lime green have too low a level of alcohol consumption to measure. More than 45% of alcohol consumption around the world is of spirits, predominantly in Southeast Asia and the Western Pacific countries such as Russia, China, India, Japan, and the Philippines. Beer consumption accounts for 36% of total alcohol purchases and is focused on the Americas, parts of Europe, Africa, and Australia. The consumption of wine is actually comparatively low, accounting for only 8.6%. In Europe alone, though, wine consumption is 26%, which really highlights how drinking trends are different around the world. Number 4. World prison populations. This map has altered the size of each country to show total prison population numbers. The colors represent the number of people who are imprisoned for every 100,000 inhabitants, and the dark colors demonstrate a higher proportion. In total, there are more than 9 million people in prison around the world. The US has more than 2 million people behind bars, China has just over 1.5 million, and Russia more than 800,000. Brazil has 500,000 inmates, while India has 380,000. This means that more than half of the world's prison population can be found in America, Russia, and China. The 3 world powers, some would argue. Obviously, these are some of the most populated countries in the world, too, so the number of prisoners as a proportion of the population is a more enlightening figure. For this, the US is again top of the list, but it is followed by El Salvador, Turkmenistan, the Virgin Islands, and Cuba. The countries with the fewest prisoners for their populations are the Central African Republic, the Faroe Islands, and Guinea-Bissau. This begs the question, why do you think that is? Are people there better behaved, or do criminals just not get arrested and put in prison? Number 3. Average penis size. When it comes to the world, size matters. Whether it's the tallest mountain, the biggest outdoor swimming pool, largest waterfall, or the highest man-made object, people are always keeping track of measurements to compete with others. It will come as no surprise then that this map has been produced that shows the average penis size of men living in each country. The range goes from the smallest in light blue to the largest in dark red. At the bottom of this scale are the men who live in North Korea, who are closely followed by those in China and Thailand. The most endowed people in the world live in the Democratic Republic of the Congo, but the most impressive continent is South America. There is truth to the Latin lover. Sorry to all you guys who live in the US, you only rank on average 61st in the world. Number 2. The most popular sports. Sports are the most popular form of entertainment around the world, with hundreds of millions of people regularly watching their favorite team or athlete pursuing victory. While the Olympic Games encourage the widest participation from each country, those events aren't necessarily the ones that most people are watching. This map shows the most watched sports in each country, and some of the results are not what you might think. The US, of course, is dominated by American football, while Canada prefers ice hockey. For those of you who guessed, the majority of the world is watching soccer, or football, depending on how you want to call it. The other colors are where things get interesting. India, Pakistan, and the Caribbean are avid supporters of cricket, but would you have expected the Philippines, Latvia, and Lithuania to prefer basketball? Japan, Taiwan, Cuba, Venezuela, and Nicaragua see baseball as their favorite sport, with New Zealand and most of the nearby Pacific Islands being much more interested in rugby. Australia is on its own, watching mostly Aussie rules football. China mainly watches table tennis, and the people of Mongolia are the world's biggest fans of Greco-Roman wrestling. Finally, the most popular sport in Estonia and Austria is skiing, and Finland shares a lot in common with Canada. They also love the sport of ice hockey. Number 1. What each country is good at. Every country likes to think that they're the best in the world. Well, this map proves that everyone can be the best at something by showing what each country is good at. Canada, as we all know, is the world leader for maple syrup. But did you know it is also number 1 in asteroid impacts? The US is the home of the highest number of Nobel laureates and the number of people who die in lawnmower accidents. Mexico tops the list for people being struck by lightning, Chile has the lowest rate of divorce, and Bolivia grows the most Brazil nuts. Mongolia is the place to go if you want to find velociraptor bones, Russia has the most raspberries and nuclear warheads, and Spain is the world's cocaine capital. India makes the most movies of anywhere. Namibia has the greatest wealth differential between the richest and poorest. And for pirates, Somalia is the place to go. This map, of course, was all meant as a bit of fun, but the important message it shows is that while every country in the world is different in its own way, the people who live there have great and unexpected things to offer, and we can all benefit by learning more about them. Thanks for watching! Were you surprised by any of these facts? Let us know in the comments below. Remember to subscribe, and I'll see you soon. Bye!